Welcome back to part 2 of our session on identity. I'm Abby, I'm sitting here with Anne and Cory, and we are continuing to dive into what identity looks like in our own lives. In our previous session, we talked about what identity means to us, what our roles are, what our responsibilities are, and what it looks like to continue to figure out God's identity and purpose in our lives. Now today, we're going to talk about what that actually means for the world. So ladies, my question for you is, we know your strengths. We know some of that for you. We talked about being a peacekeeper and being a negotiator and being a leader in the community. Your God-given pusher, as we coined it, so to speak.
Our pusher, that's what I've always wanted to be.
Now that we know these things, how can we use these strengths to navigate God's purpose in the world?
Mm-hmm. You know, I have to say that being the founder, that I've seen so many women that are they're so unsure of who they are, all over, mostly here, but all over the world. And I would say that the greatest thing that I've always seen that works, and I've tested a lot out on different women in our world. I feel like the thing they want is encouragement. If you could just walk alongside somebody who may even seem like they're very sure of themselves, and really say, you know what, whatever you're doing, which it would be a teaching position or being the hub of an organization, anything, and this would go for any woman in the world, whether she's a Roma or a Kurd or a Bedouin, is that what you're doing, I know you're trying to do the very best you can. If you could encourage them, and then say, in my life, and often women want to know, in my life, a situation like this happened, or a situation like that happened, and this is how I went about it. And I say that because even when we were working with the Roma, you were with us in the gypsy villages, and you would find and think that these women would be, I mean, so many times we think of women that are living under a tree or in a shack or something, that they're not smart. They're just not as smart as I am. The fact is they've wielded and survived so many issues that at some point you learn from them. And so when I'll say the way that I get through that, you must, you realize the tenacity it takes to do this, or you can take one step at a time, or whatever that might be. All of a sudden that light will go on in their eyes, and they realize that that is exactly what they needed to hear just to go one more day. And so any other situation for any of us going through COVID, or any of the issues that we've had to handle, health workers, teachers, you name it, it takes just one more day. So it's, encouraging them one more time, one more day, you can do this. And that we are walking together.
Right.
It's okay, because we can be together with them.
And I think encouragement is such a big deal right now, and so important. I have a good friend who was an event planner, and come March, she lost her job. Obviously, people aren't going and doing big gatherings anymore, and she's someone who every day I've seen really struggle, and she's really getting lost within her own head a lot of the time, and just is very discouraged, doesn't see an end to this for someone in her industry. And you have to challenge yourself sometimes, dig deep within yourself and find something else. If this is what you've been doing, for your entire adult life, maybe this isn't for you anymore. Maybe you need to find something else. And I think just giving someone the encouragement and reminding them that you don't have to do the same thing you've always done. Dig deeper, find something else within yourself that would make you happy. And it is different, it is change, and sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone and find something else that will make you happy, that will help other people. What is your path supposed to be? Maybe it's not what it's been up to all this time, but God has a plan for all of us, and but that encouragement is just such a big deal. And sometimes to just sit and to listen to somebody and hear what they have to say and what their concerns are and what scares them, and encourage them to maybe find something different. What makes you happy? It's a lot of change right now, and so maybe it's time to change yourself and find a different path. And she ultimately did, and got into another industry just last week. And so to see a change from someone who's been really in this funk for the last 6 months because they've been stuck inside and their industry's gone, to nothing. And then to really just be able to lift someone up and say, okay, you can find something different and find something that still brings purpose and makes you happy, but maybe isn't the same thing you've been used to. Just listening to people and encouraging them to dig deeper is a big deal sometimes, I think, and it's really helpful. And that's what I try to do for people is I'm just going to listen and I'll encourage you and give you, try to give you some direction. I don't know that I'm the best person to do that, but I certainly will always listen and encourage. And I think
and it
that's
gets
really
back to
important.
their characteristics. If they get back to their true identity,
Right.
generally they are happier.
Yeah.
A little more settled.
Yeah, just because it's different doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You just, we're not always going in the same path, and sometimes we go off course, and you just gotta find what's best for you and what makes you happy. And it's out there, and it's tough to find it sometimes, but it's there.
Yep, and you have the same kinds of characteristics I do, only you're nicer. So,
well, and I think both of you really defined how you take your characteristics and how you use them to support other people in the real world. And I think that empowering piece is huge. It's so important to empower other women and children and men in the world, God's people, all of God's people.
Yep.
I think listening is another huge thing.
Yeah.
And for me, with what I do, I think listening is crucial. I'm working with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and we all know that middle school is not the easiest phase of life. And then let's just throw a pandemic in there and let's see how
and
we
special
survive.
needs, special needs in there
on
for
top
all
of our
your
kiddos
children.
with special needs and learning disabilities and autism and some other things that are at play. I think listening is often the first step.
Yes.
We have to be able to see where they're at before we can encourage. Before we can empower, we have to let them fully get down to ground zero and open back up about how they're feeling with some of that. They may have a really good grip on an identity, or they may be totally off in outer space, but we're not going to know that until we give them that time.
Right.
And there's such an introspective, reflective piece to that, because then we want people to do that of themselves. To really sit down and to pray about it and to ask God, what is it that I am being defined as? What is it that you want me to do? What is my identity? I've lost it. So being able to be at a point where you can accept that, I have a way to go. I need to progress, right? It's all a progression. Questions are part of it. Listening's a part of it. Encouraging is a part of it. But it really is, truthfully, that journey.
Yeah.
That journey in starting where you are now and being to who God wants you to be. I think that's why it's so wonderful that's what we call this series. It's our journey. It's our topics we're digging into. And I know you ladies have both taken the journey.
Yep.
And I know you've walked your way through value and worth and identity and some of those really amazing studies that are being offered. And I'm wondering if you were to provide insight or guidance into women that are thinking about taking the journey, or a woman that has lost her identity.
Yep.
I really think that's a great portion of us women in the world right now. What would you say to them? They're kind of grasping for straws. What would you say?
Well, since I'm teaching the journey and wrote the journey, I've seen it for so many years, 7 years. It is extraordinary how many women have gone through this and really have found, and all the way through level 4, which you were through level 3, and level 4 is the leadership training. They have been able to just twist their lives into a situation that they have so much more confidence and understanding of exactly what does it mean to be a radical change maker or a servant leader, or the ability to take oneself centered in Christ and move forward into the world, and to see that coming from women all over the world. It is an extraordinary ability it's a gift to be able to see this change. This journey is essential for women to really understand how God created us. Otherwise, we have to listen to what the advertisements want us to be created about, or how so-and-so in the news wants us to think, or such and such our parents, or whatever it might be. And at the end of the day, we don't answer to them. See, when we stand before God, God's not going to say, well, bring your mom up or your husband or your brother, and you tell, and then they'll tell me what you did. No, you have to say that. So the journey allows you to move forward in the context of all the roles we have and be able to realize God has made each of us to do something on this earth purposeful only to the creation of who we are.
Right.
And to be able to find that is it takes a journey. It takes months. It takes introspection. It takes praying. It takes really you have to want to do this, and then it is so much fun to see the change.
It is. And finding out things in the journey for me, I found things out about myself I didn't know. You know, there's things that it's just sort of going to another level and learning more about myself, and not only about myself, but about the women in my group, which was just
isn't that fun?
Inspiring. It really is.
Because you can mirror them, you learn from them. You're in a group of context of women.
Yeah.
You think, well, I didn't know other people feel that way. I didn't have any idea that anybody could feel as whatever insecure as I was, or miserable, or was facing more issues than I am facing. You know, and then you realize all of us are going through something.
That's right.
Every one of us has a cross to bear.
They do. And to be a support for other people and feel supported by those other people, and just having everyone come together and really caring about each other and learning about their own journey it was great.
It's a fun thing to do. It
really
honestly is. You were a director and a leader in the journey. What do you say, Missy?
It's so exciting to walk alongside other women as they transform. And you get to see it.
Yeah.
You get to see in every different person that's a part of the journey. And it's different for everybody. And that's the really unique, awesome thing about it, is that God created us different with these unique perspectives and characteristics that continue to further his purpose in the world.
Yep.
And it looks different for me than it does for you, Cory, than it does for you, Anne.
Right.
And so being a part of the journey where you can see that in these other women, be motivated by it in the other women, and then to also walk alongside of them, not just in the really exciting, fun topics, but in the really hard topics.
Right.
Because we do hard things.
And we tend to back away from those. Like purpose, the lesson of purpose. Everybody starts going, I think I don't really want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't know what their purpose is. They're like, I just don't want to sound stupid. And, that is why we're doing this. Right? Yeah. We're all going through these questions.
We used to always say at the beginning of our group, we'd say, okay, time to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's right. And that's very true.
You learn to trust these women. You build this rapport, and you feel like you could really figure out at the base level who you are, and then experience that transformational process with these other women, regardless of walks of life. We all come from
and you become best friends.
Right.
You become so close with each other in your groups. Right.
And it becomes such a comfort level. I remember at the beginning I was very uncomfortable with speaking my truth and talking about things, and just was a little shy and timid and nervous, and how you just become so comfortable, because when you're in a group of other women that are facing the same things, even though your lives are completely different, you still have those same core issues sometimes that we all need to work our way through, and you just become so comfortable with that. And by the end, being able to go through that journey with those other women was just, it was inspiring to me.
And then you realize how you are created individually, and it's all right to be different.
That's right.
And it's all right to also state your differences, and the differences that you would see in others is okay. You don't judge them.
Right.
Well, thank you, ladies, for this really invigorating conversation. And thank you for joining us as we tackled one session of the journey. We're going to continue to tackle new topics every month. And if you are interested in joining an online journey group, please go to our website at enlightenfoundation.org. And we will be starting that in January. And we have some very exciting things ahead.